So you guys, I haven't spoken at this club in probably, I don't know, 5-6 years about my business. And been involved with the education committee in different things and helping interview people, motivating our own speakers. So today I'm going to take a little bit of an opportunity to talk about my business. Jerry said make it fun. So I spend a lot of my time after hours, after the architectural practice, playing music. And it goes like this here. Going back to my kindergarten days, most kindergarten teachers, 20-something-year-old, beautiful, 1963, in and about, brings in an acoustic guitar and starts playing. And I automatically said, man, this is definitely something I want to do. My grandfather was a violin instructor, also a big band leader in the 30s, and thank you, sir.
Come on, one more time. Yeah, come on.
So in the 1930s, I came home from kindergarten that day, and we used to spend a lot of time in the back of my grandfather's store. He had an Italian-American Salameri in Brooklyn, back room, typical carriages wheeling there at the end of the day, and the family would have dinner. And I said I want a guitar. Thank God, he was a musician, intuitive. Next thing I know, I don't know what occasion it was, but I got my first guitar. And I teach. Interestingly enough, one of the toughest things to do is to actually teach people how to strum. You would think that it's fretting or understanding theory behind music. The rhythmic or percussion part of it is very difficult. So between 5 and 8 years old, I sat around strumming to Beatles music and different things like that. And 8 years old, I started studying. I studied till I was about 14, and then I started playing gigs and getting more involved musically and starting to explore mostly guitar-oriented type music. So recently, and then when I was 19, after I got pretty much under control with college, I started studying jazz. I studied jazz for 12 years with a jazz purist. It would be Labor Day or Memorial Day, and I think about calling and ask if there's a lesson, and he would have no idea of holidays or whatever. He was just an absolute purist. I took a lot of theory and stuff away from it, things that I use in my playing, but I don't like to sit there and play straight jazz. Recently I was studying with a guitar player from Steely Dan, John Harrington. That was an absolute treat. I love this instrument, and outside of my architectural practice and doing what I do with my children, most nights I go home and I sit in front of my computer and I just study and play. I play gigs out. Mostly get hired like a hired gun. I don't have a lot of time to really do this here regularly, but life is moving on, and I think I'm going to have a little bit more time. I was born in Brooklyn, Cinco de Mayo, 1958. So you can do the math. Moved to Staten Island when I was 7 years old, and second grade. And it was the middle of second grade, so I walk into the second grade class, and my teacher takes me and puts me in front of her and says to the class that this is Glen Cutrona. And I remember being terrified. Public speaking, right? The Bucks has promoted that all the years, and it's a wonderful attribute, but in those days, I was so afraid to even stand in front of this teacher. But one thing I noticed looking out there is I saw this blonde-haired girl with blue eyes. Turns out to be my wife, Anne Marie. We went to 2nd through 5th grade together. And so we didn't date in 2nd grade or anything like that. We didn't have any real, interest outside of being a couple of kids just going through elementary school. And then when I was in 6th grade, I moved, and she moved. We went to high school together. I was into music, fast cars, fast girls. She was not a fast girl, so left her behind, had no interest in her. But she started coming to gigs, and in the old days, there was music everywhere, and we used to have, the clubs used to advertise. So-and-so. I used to play in a top 40 band called Vintage, and we played New Jersey, Manhattan, Brooklyn, different places like that. And we used to have people that used to follow us. So one time, when I was 19, I said to her, because she knew the singer of my band, I said, do me a favor, sit next to me and act like you're my girlfriend, because these people are coming by and I'd rather not be bothered. And that was the history. So I'm married for 33 years to Emery this coming August. We have 2 children. My daughter Lisa is 21. Sunday, which was a great day for the family, she just graduated Binghamton University. Division I softball player, student athlete, and that was bittersweet. It was great because we've been doing that since she was 6. She played on Tom Scarron's team until the boys' parents threw the girls off the team, Lisa and Katie. And I have a son, Jonathan. He's 18. He's a musician as well, but he goes to Stony Brook University, and he's in the 5-year civil engineering program there. So maybe at some point I'll have a civil engineer on my hands. During elementary school and intermediate school, my interests were totally music. Good student, did what I needed to do to get through school, but I really love this music thing. And I practiced like about 8 hours a day in those times, and just that was my overall focus. And then one thing I want to back up on, my uncle was a promotion manager at Epic and Columbia Records, which was bought out by Sony Entertainment. And when I was 16, in those days, it was a little different. You know, we were able to get into bars and get into places, and he afforded me the opportunity to meet most of my musical heroes during that time, and it was a great opportunity. So now, I get through that part of my life, and I end up at Susan Wagner High School. Have no idea what I'm going to do. But I walked down to the basement into this room called B63, and I met a man, Dr. Lance Martin. Dr. Lance Martin was a licensed architect, a licensed engineer, a doctor of psychiatry. He was an author, he was a magician. He was an amazing guy. He designed 43 of the buildings in the 1964 World Expo with a partnership out of Long Island. And unfortunately, he had 2 sons in the 1960s that took a bad route. Dr. Martin became the founder of Daytop Village to rehabilitate his 2 kids, and ended up in Susan Wagner High School. His misfortune was my fortune, along with many people. Take care, Murray. So it was just an opportunity that lent itself to me. So I started spending every hour I possibly could in room B63. This man was a true Renaissance man, and taught me and several other students that had a lot of interests how to love the profession of architecture, and basically it was mechanical drawing at that particular point. So I started doing competitions with him. He encouraged us to do competitions, and in my freshman year I won an honorable mention in the city. And so the next season came, and it was like, wow, we have to do this again. So progressively I won 3rd prize sophomore, 2nd prize senior, and then I won 2 first prizes in my senior year. And he knew the dean of School of Architecture in New York Institute of Technology, Old Westbury, Long Island, actually Manhattan campus. And so it's like I felt like I went to 13th grade. I remember the summer, and then I remember waiting on a bus stop, going into Manhattan and starting college. I fell in love with architecture. It's just an amazing, amazing practice. And so during that time, going to college in my sophomore year, Murray's back. In my sophomore year, I was dating Anne Marie, and I said, I need to get a job. And she says, well, you know, why don't you go work for an architect? And I said, oh my God, go work for an architect. How could I do that? But she encouraged me, and I remember I put a suit on, 36 jacket. The waist was probably proportionate too. Now my waist isn't, you know, that's besides the point. I outlined downtown, midtown, and uptown, all the architectural firms, and the first firm that I got off the ferry on was at 67 Wall Street. It was a small firm, Untitled Associates, and I said I'd like to see if I can apply for a job. So I showed all my drawings, and I was always into drawings and rendering. In fact, in 3rd grade, my mother had to go to school to tell the teacher that she wasn't drawing my book report covers. So I enjoyed drawing. They said, well, you got some great pictures, but we don't know if you're really going to do what we need here, so would you mind sitting down? That was a Friday afternoon at 3 o'clock. About midnight, he comes down from his little mezzanine, looks at the drawing and says to me, you had a job. So I was the 7th person there. By the time 6 years went by, we were 400 people. We were the number 4 design firm in Manhattan. And at that point, it was the 80s, it was rocking, it was crazy, it was corporate. I started buying firms to acquire that many employees, and I saw myself just coming back down. So in 1986, I thought of leaving the firm. And first person that I thought of speaking to was my cousin Bob, because everybody knows his business prowess. And I said, hey Bob, I'm thinking of leaving. And I don't know what the heck that would be like, because you get a paycheck every week, and but I'm not chasing my dream. It's the scariest thing, and I was encouraged. So I started a practice called Glen Cutrona Design Inc. It was an interior design firm, because I wasn't licensed at that point. 1989, I became licensed. I started a partnership in Brooklyn on Atlantic Avenue with a person that I worked with at Hampton Inn. It seemed like the perfect marriage. 1989 to 91 was one of the worst times architecturally or construction-wise, so it was a tough period, but as time went on, we realized that we're not of the same mindset. So I went out and in 1990 started Glen V Cutrona Associates. And so we're celebrating a lot of time under our hands. Architects, Frank Lloyd Wright, by the way, peaked in his 70s and 80s. Interesting, you could come out of school with a broker's license and kill the world. This profession is something that takes a lot of time to really develop clientele, to understand what you're looking to put out there. And we're seeing some positive movement as time goes on. That's about the time that I joined the Bucks. I joined the Bucks in 1991. And in 1991, actually 1990, my brother was one of the original members of the Bucks and told me for 6 months, you have to come, you have to come, you have to come. And finally I did. It was just the early part of 1991. This is the way that we used to sit at the Country Club Diner. And I loved watching everybody walk in these past couple of weeks not knowing where to go. And everybody's face this morning, it was priceless to see people wondering where to sit. Actually, this is very conducive socially for a meeting, because you're not these little groups. You're part of a bigger engagement, potentially looking at the speaker, or maybe focusing on something more than just a round table of people. So I don't know if I endorse this. I leave it up to the current administration and the president to do that. So I held every position in the Bucks, and I was president from 1997 through March 1999. And I have a lot of fiber that is connected to this club, and I'll leave that for another minute. But my firm, our firm, I started here, I was Glen Cutrona. Now we're a firm, we're growing, and that's why I asked if I could say a few words about James as the program on. James is one of our staff. James is a graduate architect. If I might say, I don't want to embarrass you, but he came to me and looked at his work and gave me an opportunity to come into the firm. And I'll say this, it may cost me some money at some point, but this is a guy that actually really gets it. And not everybody is suited for any profession, but when you meet somebody who really can understand it at its fundamental level, and even as complex as it gets, James is one of those guys, so I thank you, James. So Glen V Cutrona Associates at this particular point is an award-winning firm. We're multidisciplinary. And I'm just going to read off a quick list here for 1 second. But so we practice architecture, interior design, and space planning. And we also do something called fixture appraisals, which I'll elaborate a little bit on. We design one-of-a-kind, off the cuff. We do no development work. I want to do legalization work. We're a design-oriented firm. We design primary homes, vacation homes for people, and we have a strong presence in the New York market, doing apartments, building architect in previous times on a number of pretty prominent buildings in Manhattan, and we enjoy doing that work. We continue to do it. Our work spans from, oh God, right now we're doing a home, just beginning it on the top of a mountain in Windsor, New York, licensed in New York, New Jersey, and I hold what's known as a national accreditation, which means that I can practice in most states, but we have enough work here at this particular point, so I can get reciprocal licensing because I qualify for that. We also do corporate, institutional, industrial, manufacturing, retail, medical, religious, and so on. Fixture appraisals. I got into this business because one of my friends says, hey, can you price something out? Well, we have financial responsibility to our clients. Somebody says we want to build a building, it's $5 million, it's $10 million, it's $200,000, it's $50,000, it's whatever. So I got very much into holding that responsibility to designing buildings and structures and whatever that are within people's budgets. So I says, yes, I can do it. Fixture appraisals is when the city takes buildings for some public component. So the new New York Times building that went up, I did so many of the businesses and the largest hat store in Manhattan and architectural firms and engineering firms, and what we do is we calculate what people put into their businesses, and I'm an expert witness. I'm qualified by the New York Supreme Court, and we go in and we negotiate with the city so that people could get terms. We do wetlands takings, we do all types of reviews for projects in that realm of what they call fixture appraisals. Non-design oriented, but it's more like acting and working like an attorney or a lawyer. So I could focus my work on the design-oriented stuff, and that's a niche, which is great. And construction is pretty grueling at certain points because we can have a job going on, as we did this week. John, thank you, John. He's probably the one that's complaining. No, I'm kidding. But we have so much public outcry on projects. The zoning allows us to do certain things in areas. Also, we can have a question on a construction site. There could be 10, 20 people standing there. They need to ask us the question. It's very reactionary. I love it for that, but these fixture appraisals will probably be good as time goes on in later life. So the other thing is that I tell people all the time, we're working in a very, very complex world right now. The agencies are very difficult to navigate. I say we work in a horrible environment, but we're experts at it. We deal with all the major agencies, Board of Standards and Appeals, City Planning Commission, Department of Buildings, Department of Transportation, the Fire Department of New York, on and on and on. People don't really know what it takes to get a project approved, to get a project designed in accordance with all the multiple codes and the things that have jurisdiction and all the stuff that keeps creeping up. Having said that, we try to continue to have the fun part, involved, which is really design. I'd like to just go through a couple of projects. I'd like to say on time, I want to show you guys some of our work, and then maybe put a little message out to the box. James, would you? So, I had a cocktail mixer at my office. Most of you know my office, and this was one of the greatest opportunities I ever had in my life, which was to design our own building. And we employed a lot of the principles of sustainability, which is what we love. We do green design. We love to put that into every building. Daylighting components even is one of the features of sustainable design. The cavemen knew that, and cave women in the years, they would be smart and pick a cave that had an opening that was southern exposure. Sun would shine in there all day, and then in the evening, the heat would come off the floor, and it would be a warmer cave than the one that's facing north. So, in any respect, it goes back that long. The building is sustainable in respect to the fact that the materials that we used, it's Western red cedar, and you can see up in the upper left-hand corner here, this is corrugated metal. It's recycled metal. If we share a beer together or we open up a can of peas, that's Galvalume, that's galvanized metal. It's recycled. We use materials that are within 500 miles so that we're not trucking across the country. The other thing is that we had Scarin install some very high-end, efficient heating and cooling systems. Jim, go next slide, please. Okay, so here's some of the interior shots. Just here, what we did, we like to play a lot with volumes of spaces. So when you come into our office, that bridge kind of goes to my office, big shot. And downstairs, what we did was we harvested essentially the basement level of a building. So we pulled that back 6 feet and 14-foot high windows just to deliver light to the lower levels of the building. And you feel like you know if it's snowing, you know if it's raining, and it's definitely light. Sometimes we have sunspots coming across the floor. Using the glass rail just kept it open and transparent. That's looking at it from down below, some of the structural members that come by, and we used some exposed ductwork, which was a nice feature in a certain point, and we brought the outside materials into the building. That's our lowest level. That's where we do all of our drafting. Have a lot of room for growth there. The floor is all radiant heat. In fact, we turn the heat on in the lowest level of the building, and we don't even touch the heat anywhere else. The building has 2 apartments in it. I have a studio and a 1-bedroom apartment, which I learned a long time ago, and that's part of what I like to bring to clients, is we need to really look at projects and see how the sustainability of even just the financial aspects of a project makes sense. And so it's very helpful to us. Building on Amboy and Nelson. I show this here because it was a huge public component. Jimmy Molinaro at the time wanted a right-hand turning lane there. And I used to travel that way, and before people were able to make the right on Nelson Avenue, the traffic would be backed up for so long, and all people were trying to do was to make a right down Nelson Avenue. So in front of this building, it's a large public component. It benefits everyone that's traveling. It's not just the building, but again, we use large windows. I had a very complex program here with this here. I'll leave that because I want to get through this here in time. Please, next slide. We tried our profession at doing a corporate type of project, which is not really what I like to do, because Walgreens, they pretty much look the same. Main thing was the site planning. This one here is on Highland Boulevard in Tompkins, and was sunk in a hole, and it was a real site planning effort, and not just putting the building there, but next slide. Some of the residential projects that we do. This happens to be, we were at Casa Belvedere. This is a couple of houses over. We put this large conservatory on a building. One of the things that we like to do is we don't like things to be stuck on or look applied, so we integrated this here into the project, and if you really see how it does all of that there, this overlooks, was not such a great day, but you can see Lower Manhattan out there. Spectacular. This is an alteration to a home. We like to show alterations as well as new buildings because it just shows that we take projects and you look at the existing vocabulary of the building, or you look at the surrounding features, and you take it and you turn it into a piece of architecture. This building was dramatically different. This is also a house that looks over the golf course. We like using materials that are different a lot of times. People have shingled roofs or whatever. This is a metal roof that goes 117 feet to the other side of the home. Go. And in fact, the little boy right above him, that kid, while I was trying to take this picture, kept pouring water on my foot. So I said, do me a favor, go stand over there. Okay, I want to take a picture of you. And it's perfect to the scale. But if you look at the form of the house, you can see this house definitely moves. I mean, you really see the axes once you walk in. Please go. This house is in, I guess, Westcott Boulevard. I did homes for 2 of the Truce brothers, and they have a list of architects that they recommend, but God knows they hired me to do their houses. So in any respect, the left side of the building is a 2-story dining space. We like to open up spaces. We like the family to be engaged and connected through. And that's one of the nice things that we have the opportunity to do. We actually can help design families' interaction. And please next. It's the other brother. So had an opportunity to use both corner properties, so I oriented the building towards the corner. This one here is stucco material and stone. We like to use real materials. This is real stucco, it's cementitious stucco. We're not really too crazy about using some of the synthetic stuff, and talk about that another time. This one here, I show this here because It started out, I was going to design a closet for these people. This is on Manor Road. We won the Chairman's Award and highest awards in the borough for this year. What had happened was that they were on a 60-foot piece of property by 220. The adjacent property next to it, which was 100 by 220, went up for sale. And they asked me, what's going on with this property? I said, well, let me take a look at it. So I looked at it, and you could have, at that time, put 10 townhomes onto the property. So they bought the property, and we subdivided, and so their property goes around and comes out the other side, and we preserve the house that was adjacent to it, and beautify the neighborhood. And both of these people, they're Broadway actors and actresses. He happens to work for Thomson Reuters at this point, and does real well for himself, but they put on Christmas parties. We've been going to their holiday parties for the past 9 years. The first year they sang a song about me, about how they were mortgage free and all of this stuff, and you know where the song went, right? So this is the rear yard. One of the things that I learned, I had an opportunity, because Anne-Marie, my wife, was in the investment banking field, and so the head who did the largest M&A deal at that point, this guy Jay Higgins, you could look in who's who and see him, said, what's your husband do? Oh, he's an architect. Bring in his portfolio. She said to me, listen, you can't work for this guy. He chews people up, spits them out. I says, I'm an architect, he's an investment banker. I'm going for it. So from him, I happened to go to a party out in Long Island somewhere in this kind of upper echelon country club, and he came over across the room as everybody was looking at him and wanted to get to him, and he came over, I went to shake his hand, and he kissed me. So he kind of blessed me at that particular point, so I did a lot of work for people. But in Armonk, New York, I learned that people who were well-to-do slept in sleeping terraces, which were screen rooms, essentially, that were adjacent to the master bedroom because there was no heating and cooling. So to the left here, you don't see it, but it's only the husband and wife. They move out of that home, and they go into the sleeping room, which is adjacent to the pool, and they live in an outdoor environment. One of the other things with this house, years ago people used to say, oh, handicapped. Oh no, nobody wants to be called handicapped. Okay, then it was people with disabilities. George Feeling, you know what I'm talking about. I don't see him right now, but in any respect. So now we have something which is called universal design. Universal design means that everybody, okay, is going to turn 80 and 90 years old at some point. We lose our mobility. At this point, 50-something, sighted, even going downstairs wearing glasses. You start to feel these things. So why 2-foot doors in bathrooms and why whatever? Well, we design wider hallways. There's an elevator in this building. Right behind that trellis is a ramp that allows them to wheel their baggage up because they travel an awful lot. Go right to the elevator, right up to the upper floor. All of the corridors are pretty close to 5 foot wide, maybe 4.5 feet wide. So universal design is something that we do in a lot of our projects. This is a small house. This is going up right now at the end of Highland Boulevard. It's a 19,000 square foot house. It started out maybe 15,000 square foot, and they realized that they didn't have enough room. This happens to be a rendering, but this is not the home. The home is under construction right now. So we are importing all of the stone from Portugal, Spain. How am I doing on time, Jerry? 10 minutes? Okay, good. I'm perfect. Yeah, I'm not perfect. I'm far from perfect. So this is this is what the house is going to look like. Okay, very good. You planning to do tips? Okay, very good. So you gonna distract me anymore? Okay. So go to the next slide. So you can see the house is under construction. I wanted to show something construction related. The master bedroom wife's closet is maybe half the size of this room. So give you a little bit of perspective. Okay, so as I was saying, all the stone is being imported from Portugal, Spain. Not my style, but it's my client's taste. So go. Okay. All the ceilings are going to be coffered, and we do very intricate interior spaces for people. In fact, we love just doing that there in its own right. I'd love to design your bathroom too. Go. Okay, I'm really excited about this project. It's going to open up. It's in Annandale. It's called the Annandale Terrace. If anybody knew the Annandale Diner, the client is the person who owns that diner right now. And this is a brand new building that we have designed for him. Go. It should be opening within the next 2 weeks. Next. Okay, you can see there's very clean lines. Now, if you really see this here, I'd like to get you folks there at some point. The site plan is just crazy. And it's on a peninsula, and this is a perfect example of designing a building that fits in the site. Again, we do one-off, go. Some interior shots. This is the entry when you walk into the space. The fixtures and the interior work is all part of what we love to do. And, okay, you got to go. Now, most places you go into, one of the things that he said, the sound is crazy. We can't take the sound in this place. So those panels are actually open, and there's acoustical panels above that, so that when you're sitting here, you don't hear Mary's conversation going on over there. Okay, go, James, we gotta move, okay? This is a project down on Page Avenue. Again, this is a site planning thing. It's an investor's bank. It's a Burger King, but in any respect, you can see the physical design. Those are corporate, but the site planning, keep going, let's move it. Go, go. All right, so anyway, so those are renderings, and so one of the things is that we like to really show the opportunity of having clients understand what we do. In the old days, we draw one view. This is much different right now. Our office is very, let's say, graphical heavy right at this particular point. This is a project that we're doing right now. This is in the teleport. This was part of an RFEI, a request for interest. And the project seems to be going very well. It's going to be 300 apartments, a wellness center. It's a green environment. There's parking for 500 cars below ground. It's all green. Teleport. Go. Okay, that's another view. These are renderings, if anybody knows. Where's Steve? Steve, you know the teleport, okay?
I heard of it.
So this piece is, yeah, you've heard of it. All right, go. Let's go. We got to move. Go. Go. Okay, Sean. We just did Sean's space, and we've done so much work for so many people here, and I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. It's all good. And so we did some space planning for Sean's business, and we hope to see his business grow. We hope to see his people enjoy their environment. We did some interesting things with some lighting. We did some interesting things with some glass. It just makes it a little bit fun. Keep moving, James.